Hello, and welcome to another edition of the NRS Insights Podcast, sponsored by the National Retail Solutions Firm. I'm John Lovestock, and today I am joined by an old friend, John Petersen, the president of MarketMind, a sales and consulting group in the Cleveland area. And John is the former publisher of Convenience Store Decisions magazine. John has extensive experience in helping connect suppliers with retail chains, and he offers keen insights on how suppliers can help retailers be more effective in sharing data, sharing customer trends, and advising on emerging product trends. So, welcome, John. How are you?
John, good to see you, man.
Yeah, when talking with some folks and getting somebody on this podcast, we wanted someone who had extensive experience in helping retailers connect with suppliers to sell more stuff. I use that terminology because you hear people say that when we sell more stuff, everyone wins. So, what's your thoughts on the topic? Is there a science to this?
Uh, like getting into the market in general, I've got some thoughts on that because I do have a lot of conversations with people over
Mhm.
the years on that where, hey, I've got this product and I want to get it on the shelves. How do I do it? Pretty complicated question if you take a step back and say, okay, are we talking about a product or a service?
Mhm.
Clearly two different paths to purchase there. If it's a food product, especially some nuance there in terms of safety issues and all sorts of ingredient labeling and all that kind of fun stuff. Beverage, hyper competitive category that sees a lot of new launches every year. CPG just in general pretty competitive. If it's something operational or you're trying to knock out an existing supplier or have them add a category that they didn't know they needed, that's maybe a little bit easier path. None of it's easy. But then I just ask people, hey, is this a new product or an existing product? If it's an existing product and you've got data and proof of concept in other segments, like drug and grocery and big box and whatnot, that's certainly going to be an easier path to get retailers in the C-store segment's attention. If you're talking about a brand new product with no sales history, no track record, that's a pretty heavy lift. And then you start talking about, would you want to start with the big chains, the regional chains? Do you want to try to get into some independents, get some data going? And then the classic chicken and egg, do I start with the wholesaler distributor or do I start with the stores? So I think that's kind of what frames the conversation in terms of where you go next. And I would say staying on that chicken or egg, I would try to do both in concert. It's you can't get on the shelves if the truck doesn't pull in the parking lot and have it on it, and the truck can't have it on it if it's not in the warehouse. But it's not going to be on the truck if nobody wants it. So you got to kind of do the push pull thing. And I've seen people have success with, typically in your own market, you'll probably know a buying influence at a chain of some semblance or even a store and at least try to leverage that to get in and get some sort of data going on the turn on the product if it is a product. Um, but then you just really have to know the product and why the retailer would need it. You need to really understand your lead times and your inventory levels, your minimum order sizes, your price tiers, and then I think it's really important to have really, really, really good product spec sheets. That because the minute you get out of that sales call or have a meeting, whether it's with a wholesaler or a category manager at a chain, they're going to forget 95% of what you said. So you better hope your sell sheets can help you sell and have like specific information on what does the product solve or what does the service solve in terms of a problem? How is it better than other availables? How is it going to help the operator? Endorsements and testimonials, high-end imagery, especially if we're talking about food. Um, just retail suggested retailer pricing, that kind of thing. So that's kind of step two is like after you frame the market, now how am I going to have the promotional and collateral materials to actually get someone's attention in the market? You've obviously got to make presentations themselves, which aren't going to be that easy to get. There's a variety of ways to try to get the retailer and wholesaler buying influences attention. You could do trade advertising, something you and I come out of. That's what, we're kind of used to having that conversation. Um, But in the day and age of internet, you can do so much targeted Google advertising and whatnot to specific buyers and trying to get their attention so that when they get that call, it's not really a cold call, it's more of a warm call because they know
Sure,
who you
and
are.
that's where technology plays a huge part. But I wanted to touch on two things that you
Yeah,
mentioned that, in my experience working with the retailers, you hit on two things that they always ask when they're talking about new products, and we've seen this in some of the things we did in the convenience directions meetings and in focus groups. The first question is, can I get it? Is it on a distributor truck or a wholesaler truck? Can I get it into my store without a problem? Because I think we both have seen products come on the scene and then they do really well and then they run out of distribution and they can't get it. And if you're a retailer, you got to drop that product. You can't give shelf
exactly.
space to products that aren't going to be in stock. And second, is the ROI. So you better be prepared before you go to a retailer and say, "Hey, buy our product," and because they're going to ask, "What's it going to cost me? What's the return going to be?" Because of the way they map out shelf space, each square inch of shelf space is expected to bring a return. So, is that helpful? I mean, when dealing with retailers, is that something you see suppliers focusing on and being buttoned down?
Well, yeah, whether it's trying to consult someone on what ad messaging they should
Hmm.
use, whether it's print, digital, or their trade show booth, I can't stress enough to folks like get that margin information in there. You got to have a reason why a retailer wants to add a product that they probably already have a pretty robust category offering against. And again, we keep focusing on products. A lot of the people that you and I have dealt with are on the technology side, which again, you're not necessarily looking to, get more shelf space, but you're not talking margins. Now you're probably doing something even more challenging, which is like how are you going to ROI this from a ultimate return on that major investment capital expenditure I'm asking you to make on the front end that I swear, Mr. Retailer, we've got data that shows in year 4.5 you're going to have your money back, and then everything after that is just either profit or just complete efficiency gained. But so another tough path. But yeah, you hit it. I mean, this is a really, it's an attractive market because it's so big, um, but it's more restrictive due to its small format. So you better have a really compelling reason for me to add that product to already challenging because of it's a lot easier to get into some of these other segments. And that's why I think a lot of people go to big box and grocery that can have more wasted space, if you want to call it that, just as a placeholder. And
Hmm.
if it doesn't sell, oh, well, we tried. C-store's not going to give you that kind of rope. You're going to have to prove yourself really fast in terms of turn because there's so many new products coming in. So many people want that, that foot of space or clearly that end cap or that counter shelf space. So it's to your point, it's got to have a really compelling reason. And it's hard to do that unless you're like you've got this big national ad campaign and you're going to have a Super Bowl ad and generate all this buzz for this product and consumers walking in looking for it. So again, it's all over the board in terms of who you're talking to. It's a lot easier for an existing CPG that's already got shelf space, distribution, sales efforts, all that to add than me coming off the street trying to launch.
Hmm.
And that leads me to the last kind of thing I would say on that side of the fence, perhaps, is like, well, two things. One is, you have to be on the truck. You mentioned the wholesaler. You have to be
Hmm.
on the truck. How do you do that? I think it's really imperative to network with those folks. Most of them have their own trade shows. All of them go to trade shows. So I think you have to be out in the market meeting those folks and giving them the reason to carry it. And there's only one of you. If it's just a single person company launching a product, or depending on how big your sales staff is, you certainly should consider the top tier brokers just to get additional coverage, feet on the street. So now you've got brokers knocking on doors, you've got wholesalers knocking on doors, you and your sales team knocking on doors. The multiplicity of that effect is probably going to get you the path to purchase a lot faster than just trying to go it alone.
Sure. And of course, relationships. I mean, that's kind of what you and I have been doing for nearly 30 years in this industry is knowing the right people and earning that trust, that I won't steer you wrong. I'm not going to come in front of you with a product I don't believe in or a service that isn't worth purchasing.
Yep. And having the data to prove once you've accepted it that it's
Hmm.
working and understanding the need. And, you know, you could crack a chain that has 50 stores and your product might be really applicable in 35 of the 50, but there's some 15 stores where that product is in that region's not going to work. It's just all that. It's just understanding that the retailer's business and his customer.
Yeah, and gaining trust, right? We've talked about this in the past where and I don't want to steal your thunder on the convenience directions meetings, but as in a good example, we'll get to that in how retailers and suppliers can communicate. But we saw really good sales folks get in front of retailers and say, this is the number one product in your market. It's not mine. You're not carrying it. You need to be carrying this. And I mean, if you can't trust that guy, I mean, who can you trust in this industry? Because he's showing you he's looking out for your best interest.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, the consultative selling and out, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, we've seen a lot of sales presentations, and you know, we've had retailers give us immediate feedback after those are over and the supplier's not around. And the good ones do exactly what you said. They understand the category. They present data against it. They understand specifically the market that they're presenting in, which is really, to me, what separates the good from the bad. I mean, we've seen people that show up a day early, go out and do their own, you know, audits of stores, competitive stores. They come back with presentations that define the market for their specific, you know, product, and take the heavy lift off the buyer's desk and put it on their own and say, hey, listen, I've looked at your stores. I've looked at your competition. You're light here. You're heavy here. You know, top quartile, you're way below, but in your market, you're way above, and literally help them planogram their store, and not around their products. But yes, their products are obviously going to be involved in that conversation, but also showing them out where else there's opportunity, and that person get invited back.
100%. So that now touching on convenience direction. So is that a format, that face-to-face informative format? Is that something you believe in?
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how else you would even get that credibility without the relationships you alluded to earlier, and then that's born out of typically face-to-face selling. And again, we're talking about, you know, most of the time the conversations around a product that requires to be touched, drank, eaten, whatever it is. You're asking the person to buy a product, put it on their shelves so that they can sell it to their customer. There's a intermediate step there where they need to try it, look at it, you know, smell it, whatever they're going to do. It's a product that they're going to have the liability of carrying in their stores and selling to their customers, and you can't do that the way we're doing this right now. So yeah, face to face is the best, and certainly the format you're alluding to, and that format's great because it's not just one person on the receiving end of that presentation, it's the team. So multiple people get to understand what's going on in a category that may not affect them today, but it might enhance the category they're in charge in, or maybe down the road they're going to be over that category. So there's so much going on in this market that there's no way the retailer can be abreast of everything going on out there in terms of regulations and flavor profile trends and all these different things that affect their business. To have consultative companies come in that own that category, know that category, present that category, those are the ones that get the lift. And it's done face to face.
Those face-to-face meetings, now while you were talking, it reminded me of, I forget what chain we were at, but when you have all the decision makers there, when you get the category manager, the CFO, the CEO. So the category manager's like, you know, oh, we got to get this. And then you get the CFO going, whoa, 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 slow down. What does that cost? Then you got the CEO going, wait, well, what's my liability? So you really are getting a good understanding of what it takes to get a product in the store. It's not just calling up and saying, hey, can you carry my product?
Right. No, and those are hard meetings to get, you know, but you know, if your story is compelling enough, certainly on the operations side, a lot of those people would want to get involved because they want to see how they could be doing something more efficiently, or know their customer better, and have more data and trend information. And then, you know, the product side of it, again, is with 30,000 or so SKUs a year, I think it is, that try to launch into convenience. They don't all stick. There's not enough room in the box. So it's very competitive, and you better be buttoned down.
Sure, and I think that also illustrates the power that the wholesalers and the middlemen have in that uh, I think retailers tend to trust the products. It's an easier sell for the wholesaler to say, "Hey, we have these new products," versus a cold call from a regional distributor who's making products, a product manufacturer that's making products.
Yeah. Again, you need both because the distributor doesn't want to, put you on the truck unless there's somewhere to deliver it to. And
Mhm.
if you've got two, three chains in a row telling them, "Hey, we want this product," they're going to be like, "Okay, these people are serious. They're out calling on our customer, and our customer wants it, so we need to inventory it." And so again, it's a two-pronged approach. I've seen people try just going after the retailer, and then they're frustrated because they can't get it to the store, and people that just go after the wholesaler who either doesn't want it or does take it on, but then there's no sales pressure against the retailer, and
Mhm.
it sits in a warehouse somewhere, doesn't turn, and then the wholesaler kicks you out. So you got to be doing both. The good news in this market is, as you know, and some of them are ones that we've been involved with. There's an event every week, so even if you can't get in their office to make those presentations, those folks are at the regional shows, they're at the wholesaler shows, they're at the national shows and conferences. And if you better have a T&E budget in this business
Hmm.
because you could be gone every week.
Absolutely. So, just to kind of summarize, if if you had one or two pieces of advantage of information you would share with suppliers, what would it be? And if you had one or two nuggets for retailers, what would they be?
Um, on the supplier side, I would say I would try to get a I'd try to create some proof of concept, and that might be going to one-off stores. That might be going to a friend of a friend and trying to get them to carry a product or to utilize my service so that I at least could get some data going. Because I think data is going to it's already critically important. It's only going to be more so. So I think you start small. A lot of people want to get on that first plane to Dallas and go knock on doors and get into the big guys, but that's a tough path if you have no proof of concept. So I would say I would start small, 10 and under on the chain size, and try to get some folks to bring it in, and in concert with that, be talking to their wholesalers. So now I've at least got some logos I can put on my collateral and say others. I'm not asking you to go where someone else hasn't flown. There's already some people there. So that would be my recommendation on that side, would be to set the bar in the appropriate expectation slot, and then run toward that. On the retailer side, they don't need my help on how to buy stuff, but I would demand, I think, based on what I've seen in all the meetings that you and I have done together, and in other things that I've seen, I would demand that, if you want to earn the right to be on my shelves, you better act like the category leader, because I need you to understand the entire category, not just your product, and how that category affects my overall operation, and how your products play within that category to enhance the category. And I think most of them do that. Um, I don't think people are just bringing stuff in every day just to see if it works and let it hang out for a couple of weeks, and if it doesn't, move on. I think that they're expecting the folks that want to be in their stores, whether it's to clean the stores or monitor who's coming in and out of the stores, or whether it's a snack. I think you have to bring enough compelling information to me as a operator on how that's going to be better than what I'm currently doing.
100%. And I think most of them do that because the pushy ones, the ones that aren't prepared, tend not to get into stores, and they go away and you don't see them. So,
Yep.
and we also both know how smart these retailers are. We've just evolved so far from the day where here's a new golf bag, or here's a case of water, carry my product. And store managers would be like, oh, hell yeah. And you can't do that anymore. The real
Yeah.
estate's too valuable, cost of operations are too expensive.
It's a lot harder now in some
Mhm.
ways, and in some ways, like with data and technology, in some ways it's easier. So it's a more I think it's a more reasonable, rational purchase decision based on
Mhm.
information versus on um, you know uh, anything you just mentioned. But again, it's also a face-to-face relationship market like none I've ever seen. So all the data is great, but I'd like to also have a really good relationship with the person that I'm presenting that data to.
100%. John, this is great stuff. So hopefully our listeners are taking heed and putting together a good marketing plan. And if you do need help, reach out to John. I can vouch for him. He won't say it, but he really is the best at what he does. So it's been good speaking with you, and I appreciate your insights.
Oh, thanks for having me, John. Good to see you.
Great. So for John Petersen, I'm John Lovestock. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you have a good afternoon, and we look forward to having you on a future NRS podcast. Have a good afternoon, everyone.